welcome to another edition of Wealthy and Wise. I'm your host today, Cord Christie, and we are going to be talking about something very important that every investor, every business owner needs to be thinking about for 2023. And these are the top 3 things that all you folks listening right now should be thinking about for your business, for your investments. And we've got with us today Adam Kinte, one of the top senior people on our team at NCH, who's a specialist in asset protection, tax strategies, and helping entrepreneurs succeed. Adam, thanks for being on the program today.
Thanks for having me, Court.
Absolutely. And Adam, I just have to say, you've been crushing it, hosting the program as well every week. So I want to thank you for all you do in that world.
Bet.
All right. Well, let's jump right in. What are the top 3 things that every investor and business owner should be thinking about?
Yeah. First thing that everybody has to start with is number 1 is the business plan. And it is such a critical piece that is often overlooked, but having a roadmap for your business. So the business plan oftentimes is not just the financial side of what you want to do, but putting together a marketing plan, marketing budget. Our market is constantly changing. We've gone through 2 years of COVID where we had the in-person sales, everyone got digital really quick, really fast. So knowing your market and the exercise of going through the business plan will help you to understand your target audience, the price points you're working with, all of these variables that are just so important. And we actually have a team here at NCH that they specialize in business plans for all types of business. And we've really done a great job in putting together a nice 35-page custom business plan that is SBA compliant. If you're looking for funding, loans of any kind, first thing the bank wants to see, business plan.
And I think especially for investors too, right? What if you're trying to partner with somebody in real estate transactions, or you want to grow your business and you found a new niche, or maybe it's an empty restaurant that you want to take over and you need an investor, not just the bank, to come in. I think that's where it's just vital, right? That these business plans are built correctly and give you the guidance that you need to grow your business. So that's a great one. That's important for every investor, every business owner listening. Get yourself a business plan, a clearly outlined business plan. And I know how much all of you would love writing and doing financial analysis and doing demographic studies, right? No, we do that for you. And as Adam said, we have an incredible team that does it all, so you don't have to do the work.
Good. Now, the second thing that we want to focus on this year is the credit element in building business credit. And we've gone through, I think I started this in 2001. I've been through now 3 recessions, and we always know what happens in a recession. Either the businesses that make it are those that have the financial stability to weather these tough times. And there are times where you're going to have to tap that credit line, cover some marketing expenses to bring in the business. Marketing costs may go up a little bit depending on what the audience you're looking to capture. But those that have planned ahead, that have built their business credit, are the wisest people that are out there. So look at Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, but he has bankrupted I don't know how many businesses, yet he still has those gold toilets in Trump Plaza or wherever it is that he continues to maintain. And it's not because he's being a crook or a thief. It's because he has understood well separating himself from the business financially as well. And when we're personally guaranteeing everything, we're using our own cash and our own credit, it really puts you in a disadvantage in the marketplace, because now you're limited to what you can do, your personal finances, your personal credit. So it's such an important step to start building business credit and separating that out. So if the worst goes worst, you could bankrupt the business, walk away personally, start something new, and right back in business you go with a new adventure, a new idea.
An interesting story, too, is a caveat to that. A great friend of mine, he was a contractor in Las Vegas. During the 2008 crash, right, everybody in construction went out of business. He was one of those, but we had many conversations ahead of time, and he had a side thing going, and he had also built business credit for his business, and he was able to protect his personal credit, had to close his business. Just a great guy, thought it was the end of the world. He was up and running about 6 months later with a new business endeavor that actually was larger than his previous business, just because he was positioned and ready, just like you're saying, is get ahead of it. Don't risk everything in your personal name. If you can do it in a business entity and get business credit, to take the hit if there's a problem, if there's a change. Nobody wants to file bankruptcy, folks. I know this, right? Nobody wants to deal with that. But if it happens and the economy turns, now you've got a great opportunity to pivot to the next thing once you figure out what that next thing's going to be.
And one of the things that really gets challenging is that Dun & Bradstreet is the #1 business credit reporting agency. There are no federal laws regulating business credit. And 99% of the companies out there, something like 600,000 businesses in the U.S. that will work with you on credit, but with no federal laws with reporting requirements, less than 1% of these companies are reporting positive information to Dun & Bradstreet. So we've got a system that we've built through your expertise in building that business credit. The business credit team can help to navigate those waters, work with the right companies that will report to Dun & Bradstreet. And I think on average, the statistic, it takes a business 5 to 7 years to build a good score for the business with Dun & Bradstreet. Whereas through our credit program with our credit experts, we can build that score within 3 to 6 months. So it's just collapsing that time frame to quickly build up a good score and doing it right so that none of this stuff reports on your personal.
And I think the thing that's so important is, as the listeners are hearing what you're saying, is they're thinking, oh, I've got a lot of work to do in my business. I've got a lot of work to do in my personal life. I've got investments that I'm overseeing. Now I have to do this too. And the truth is we do it with you. We hold your hand through that entire process. And I think that's what's so critical to understand is this isn't more work for you. This is you able to accelerate, like you said, from 5 years building business credit on average down to 90 days to 6 months, depending on how well you move through the program with us, guiding you through along the way. And I think that's the important part of, what NCH is we're a support team that cares about the outcomes for each and every one of you. And when it comes to credit building, we know how to do it better than anybody because we've been doing this for about 25 years now.
Good. Now, the third part that everybody hates to talk about, but it is business taxes and accounting. And right now, people are starting to realize that taxes are going to be due in just a few short months. If you have an LLC, taxes and S Corp, the due date is March 15th. If you are not ready for any reason to file the return, do not panic. File an extension. That gives us till September 15th to get your taxes filed. But the smart business owner has turn taxes into something they do on a regular basis. So as a W-2 employee, tax time rolls around, we gather up the receipts, take it to the CPA or go on a TurboTax and type it in and hope that we get some money back or hope we don't owe a bunch of money in taxes. As a business owner, we have to be thinking about the taxes immediately, and having those conversations with your CPA or your tax preparer is so important. Doing it right now, project for this year. What do we think the profits are going to be? What type of income? Is it passive income, active income? How much salary should I be taking? Because if we wait until December 31st, as soon as the year passes, there is nothing we can do. Everything goes from pencil into pen. So just the tax planning and thinking about that now, getting systems in place so that this year, everything is easy. And to hit the easy button, I always remind people, if you think that working with an expert is expensive, try hiring an amateur. It gets really expensive when you have incompetent tax preparers and people that don't know what they don't know.
Well, and then, we were talking before the show, you were talking about audit risks and people that may get audited. And in the event that happens, if you're not organized or you don't have somebody to go to as an expert to help you, it could be quite miserable. And so our business owners, our investors need to have somebody in their court that gets it, that is professional, that can be a great guide and help them plan for the year. And, some of the data that you said was alarming to me. Do you mind repeating it for our audience today?
Yeah. So the U.S. Inspector General does a report card every year with what the audit risk is for different entity types and filing types. And the reports show that if you are filing a Schedule C, you have a 6% audit risk. That is 1 in 20 is your chances of being audited filing a Schedule C, which is crazy. The S election, filing LLC, taxes, and S Corp, your audit risk is less than 1/4 of 1%, which is such a big difference. And in 2021, there was a lot of people that were upset because the audit risk of S corps were so low. And the IRS defended themselves. They said, yeah, the audit risk is so low because you can't TurboTax an S corporation. You have to have a professional do it. And the number of errors they found in S corp returns were minimal compared to the number of errors in Schedule Cs.
It's very interesting. People doing it themselves at home, writing off everything maybe in the kitchen sink, and they're finding that the IRS, it's a pot of gold, what it sounds like for them to go after these folks. So I think, the moral here, Adam, is make sure that you have the right people supporting you, right? Make sure that you're doing some planning ahead of time, because you and I know how many times that we've talked to business owners and investors that get to the end of the year or past the end of the year and now want to do a plan to minimize last year's taxes. And it's like, you can't minimize last year's taxes this year. You can minimize last year's taxes last year. You can work on a strategy for that, but you can't do it once that December 31st date has hit and it's over, and now you start the next calendar year. So you've got to get ahead of it and got to start thinking about, how do I minimize things? Recently I was on a trip, and it was, you could say it was a vacation, but from the work that I did, it didn't feel like a vacation. But I was visiting a rental property, and I was telling my wife while we were vacationing, working, looking for furniture and getting a person to do new floors and things like that for us, that we need to be saving every receipt and marking everything down, because, we can deduct those meals. We can deduct those flights. We can deduct everything that we had. Now, we took some time to have some fun. We don't get to deduct those things, right? But we can deduct everything else. And I think oftentimes you can overlook what you can be writing off day in and day out. But a little planning, a little conversation goes a long way to start thinking about, how do you minimize the amount of money that you want to pay to the IRS, minimize your tax burden ultimately. So to know that, NCH has experts, they specialize in tax returns. They specialize in investor returns for real estate investors. And that's not something that you get when you go down the street to an H&R Block or Liberty Tax or even your local CPA. They do a lot of different things. And frankly, most tax preparers are doing personal returns all day long, and business returns are different. And, you wouldn't go to the brain surgeon if you had a heart problem. You go to the heart surgeon for a conversation. They're different specialties. And I think that's so important that you understand that is just any old tax preparer is not what you want for your business or your investments.
It's a good point. So yeah, I agree. Let's get the business planning done, start mapping things out, make sure that you work on getting the credit and financing side in place so we can weather any storm that comes through, and work on the taxes, get the planning, get the right experts.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for teaching us today and educating all of our great listeners. And all of you listening today, thank you for attending another edition of Wealthy and Wise, and we'll see you next week.